What's up, YouTube peeps? It's your favorite troublemaker, DJ Rees, and we're about to jump into the juicy drama of Reddit's Am I the A-hole subreddit. So buckle up, grab your popcorn, and let's get ready to call out some a-holes. My husband unexpectedly passed away a few months ago, and I became a single mother to 3 kids, 16 male, 14 female, and 2 female. Due to the significant decrease of income, I was no longer able to continue renting where we were, and all I can afford is a 1-bedroom apartment. Currently, I am sleeping in the living room with my youngest. I gave the bedroom to my 16-year-old male and 14-year-old female and asked them to share in the meanwhile. I tried adding a privacy screen in the middle so they feel like they have their own space, but they are telling me that this isn't acceptable. Each of my kids used to have their own rooms, so this is a massive change for them. I have been looking for a better paying job for months and so far have had no luck. I can't get a second job because I can't afford to pay someone to care for my 2-year-old outside of daycare hours. Neither of my older kids are willing to help, and they say my youngest is not their responsibility. I know this situation isn't ideal, but I don't know what else I can do. For the past month, I've not been eating anything for 2 days a week and just telling the kids I'm trying out the fasting trend for weight loss purposes. But the truth is, I can't afford to feed us all, and I have been using the food bank. Prior to this, I had never had to use food bank services before, and I am so thankful that it exists. I am both thankful and deeply ashamed at the same time. Would I be the a-hole for telling my teens that they must share the bedroom? Would it be better if I suggested my son sleep in the living room with me and have both my female kids share the bedroom instead? I do not live in the United States, but it is not common for teenagers of opposite sex to share a bedroom. That is something I do absolutely recognize. Looks like we've got a single mom on our hands. And not just any single mom, but one who's living in a 1-bedroom apartment with 3 kids and a privacy screen. I mean, come on, who needs walls and doors, right? She's a super mom. But seriously, it's a tough situation to be in. I truly feel for her and this situation. It's understandable that your kids are having a hard time adjusting to the new living arrangements, but let's be real, they're lucky to even have a roof over their heads. Maybe they can learn a thing or two about gratitude and humility. As for the bedroom situation, why not suggest a good old-fashioned game of rock, paper, scissors to determine who gets the coveted bedroom, or better yet, they can take turns every other night. And who knows, maybe they'll even bond over the shared space. And lastly, for the love of all that is holy, please stop starving yourself and using fasting as an excuse. You and your kids deserve to eat and be nourished. So keep using that food bank and be proud of yourself for doing what you need to do to survive. No shame in that game. I'm 23 female, was raised by my older half-sister, 32 female. I never met my dad, and our mom overdosed when I was 10 and my sister was 19. My sister's dad was still in her life and was willing to support her, but not me. My sister chose to be my guardian, and her father's family went low contact with her as a result. In order to raise me, she gave up a lot. Her relationship with her father, college, her 20s, and so much more. A few months ago, I got engaged, and I told my sister that in addition to being my maid of honor, I also wanted her to be the one to walk me down the aisle. All my life, she's had to fulfill so many roles for me. Big sister, mother, father, friend. So it only felt right that those multiple roles be honored on one of the biggest days of my life. My sister was ecstatic, and so was I, but I brought it up with my fiancé, and he objected. My future in-laws are very traditional, and my fiancé had always expected that his wedding would be a very traditional white wedding. He said that it was great that my sister was my maid of honor, but he said that her having 2 roles was ridiculous, and it wasn't appropriate for her to walk me down the aisle, since that's usually done by a man. Apparently, his family had assumed that my future father-in-law would be the one to give me away, since I don't have any male relatives. I told him that I appreciate his father being willing to fill that role, but the one who made me the person I am is my sister, and so it's right that she be the one to give me away. It turned into an argument that spread to my in-laws. My mother-in-law called me a few days ago to say that although she understands how important my sister is to me, that it's also my fiancé's wedding and I shouldn't be putting my sister before him on his day. I definitely heard her on that, but this is still important to me. At this point, my sister has even said that she doesn't mind just being the maid of honor and she doesn't want to turn my happy day into something stressful. So now it's just me holding out and being stubborn, but I really don't want to concede on this point. Am I being the a-hole? Well, first of all, let's give it up for the amazing sister who stepped up to raise her younger sibling. It sounds like she's a superhero in her own right. As for the wedding dilemma, I say ditch the whole idea of someone giving you away like you're a used car. Why not walk yourself down the aisle? Or better yet, get a bunch of your closest friends and family members to join you in a conga line down the aisle, complete with maracas and confetti. That way, everyone can be involved and have a blast, and your sister can still be your maid of honor without any hurt feelings. Who needs tradition when you can have a conga line? Seriously though, you are not the a-hole here. This is your wedding too, and you're the one being given away. It is your right to choose, and I think him and his family are overstepping their boundaries here. I am 29, female, and my brother Todd, 33 male, is married to Haley and 31 female. And they have a 10-month-old son, Josh. My family moved to Switzerland when we were young, but Todd went back to the US for college, which is where he met Haley, and they've since moved back to Switzerland when Haley got pregnant. Since Haley and Todd got married, and especially since she gave birth, Haley has been trying to involve my mother and me in her and Todd's relationship. She started texting my mother when she and Todd would disagree, asking my mother her opinion or if she could talk to Todd on her behalf. My mother was very uncomfortable with this. My mother was happy to help out with anything to do with adjusting to living in a different country, but she really didn't want to get involved in Haley and Todd's relationship. Then Haley started texting me. She would get in a disagreement with Todd and text me the next day asking me to come to her house to talk about it or ask me for advice. I said I was not getting involved in my brother's marriage and that it was inappropriate, but that didn't stop her. She started showing up at my mother's house unannounced and even showed up unannounced at my apartment as well. We've all separately spoken to Todd about this many times and he said he will talk to her about it, but nothing ever changes. A few days ago, I got a call from Haley. She was screaming and sobbing so loudly that my sales assistant could hear her even though she wasn't on loudspeaker. What I ended up being able to understand was that Todd was being weird about money and he had changed his credit card details and she was upset. She wanted me to talk to him, but I told her I was not getting involved in this and I was sick of her trying to drag me into her marriage. I told her that from now on, any messages or information shared with me would be passed along to Todd because I was done and hung up. She tried to call back, but I didn't pick up. Then a barrage of texts start coming through. I forwarded them all to Todd and told him this stuff needs to stay on his plate, not ours, and we're sick of her behavior. Todd apologized and said he'd do something about it. That evening, I got a long text from Haley saying she can't believe I forwarded her messages to Todd and that I betrayed her confidence and that I was a terrible person for never helping her with anything. I just forwarded the message to Todd. Since then, I haven't heard from her and neither has my mother. I was at lunch with my friends yesterday, all of whom know about the background to this, and they all said that while I definitely should have made sure Todd handled it, I probably shouldn't have forwarded him the messages immediately and that I did betray Haley's trust. I don't think I did, considering I warned her what I would do if she didn't stop. I've also been speaking to Todd, and this has caused mayhem in their household, so now I'm feeling bad because that wasn't my intention. Am I the a-hole here? Well, it sounds like Haley needs to learn to keep her marriage problems to herself, or at least not involve her husband's family in them. Maybe she should consider getting a therapist instead of trying to recruit her in-laws as her personal relationship counselors. No, you're not the a-hole, but you might want to invest in some earplugs to protect your sales assistant's eardrums from Haley's next emotional outburst. I would like to point out, though, that although you did warn her about boundaries, you only told her that you were going to forward her texts right before you hung up on her, and then proceeded to ignore her afterward. I totally get why you did that, but just wanted to add that in because that's probably why she's so upset. At the end of the day, she seems super manipulative though, and I think being blunt about it and ignoring her was the only way to get her to stop. I, 37 male, am a single father to my daughter, 8, who will be turning 9 this Saturday. I'll call her Gabby. Gabby decided she wanted a pool party for her birthday at our house. I plan on doing other activities as well, such as bounce houses, a cookout, s'mores, movie by the pool, and make your own cookies, followed by a sleepover with some of her friends. It's going to be a busy day, and there'll be roughly 30 kids at my house. Some parents are staying, and some are just dropping off their kids and picking them up later. I'm fine with this. I let Gabby invite whoever she wanted, and she chose to invite a classmate, Andy, that is autistic. I was fine with this, as I've always taught Gabby not to judge others based on their differences. Here is where my dilemma comes into play. Andy's mother called me last week to ask if it would be okay to just drop him off and pick him up the next day so he could attend the sleepover. My problem is I have no experience with an autistic child, and my understanding is that Andy is very low functioning. I guess he's prone to getting easily overwhelmed and will start to shut down and have an outburst. I told Andy's mom that I wouldn't be comfortable with him being there by himself, as I would be too busy with everything else going on, and that I'm inexperienced with autistic children. Andy's mother got really upset with me, telling me that I don't understand how hard it is for single moms to get alone time, and how Andy would be devastated that he wouldn't be able to attend, and how happy he was to attend a party, since he rarely gets invited to things. Andy's mom is now going around saying I uninvited her son because of his autism, causing parents to throw shade at me. The parents that are staying offered to help with Andy, but they also have little to no experience with autistic children either. One parent said that Andy's mother did this to her at her son's party, and he's definitely a handful. Am I the a-hole here? Well, it seems like you're in a bit of a pickle there, Dad. But hey, don't worry, I've got your back with some advice. First of all, let's acknowledge that you're not the a-hole here for being inexperienced with autistic children. That is not necessarily your problem, but I understand why you're concerned. It's a valid concern, and it's important to make sure everyone is safe and happy at the party. Now, as for dealing with Andy's mom, here's what you could do. Start by telling her that you're sorry if she felt he was uninvited, but that you're just concerned about Andy's well-being and want to make sure he has a good time. Then offer to compromise by having one of the parents who are staying specifically take care of Andy and make sure he's comfortable throughout the party. Or you could also make it a group effort where the parents who are staying all keep an eye on him. This is a rough situation, but I think there is a way to have him still attend the party without his mother being there, as long as she fully agrees to it and understands that if something happens, it's not your fault. I am a 26-year-old female who has a 22-year-old sister. Our relationship is not close, and I never considered her a good friend or family member. While I do not hold her entirely responsible for our distant relationship, I do blame her to some extent. Growing up, my parents expected me, as the older sister, to make sacrifices for my younger sister. For example, if we wanted different types of takeout, I had to give in and agree to what she wanted. If we both received birthday party invitations on the same day, I was supposed to stay home, and she would attend. The same was true for choosing a movie or vacation destination. Although we were all supposed to get a vote, her vote counted twice, making it pointless to argue. As we got older, I frequently had to cancel plans to accommodate her or babysit her when my parents were unavailable. They would order her preferred food before leaving, and I would just have to deal with it. While I understand that this behavior is not uncommon and may be tolerable in moderation, there was never any balance in our family. My parents argued that, as the older sister, I had more freedom, but it was meaningless because I couldn't make the most of it. My sister grew up expecting me to let her have her way, and even after I moved out of the house and cut off contact with her and my parents, she didn't realize why I left until she turned 17. I explained to her that I had grown tired of being taken advantage of, and she promised to do better. Although we started to repair our relationship, it hasn't improved much, and I feel that it is more of a chore than a joy. A few weeks ago, I got engaged to my partner, and I asked my 3 closest friends to be my bridesmaids. I decided not to choose a maid of honor because I love all 3 equally. However, my sister assumed that she would be my maid of honor, and I had to explain to her that she wasn't. She demanded to know why, and I told her that being maid of honor is a special role reserved for close friends. She then accused me of being mean and taking out my past resentment on her. I reminded her that it's not just about the past and that she still tries to assert her choices over mine. She started crying and said that she had been trying, but I disagreed. I have been calling out her selfish behavior for 5 years now, and she seems to think that time will heal all wounds. She left upset, and later she told me that she understood that I didn't always like her, but I was still very mean to her. Oh boy, where do I even begin with this one? It's like a classic tale of sibling rivalry, but taken to a whole new level of absurdity. I mean, Sure, we've all had those moments where we're forced to compromise with our siblings on things like what to have for dinner or where to go on vacation, but this is next level stuff. It's like the younger sister had a magic veto power over everything, and the older sister was just expected to fall in line no matter what. And then the younger sister has the audacity to act all hurt when she's not chosen as the maid of honor. Talk about entitlement. But honestly, my favorite part of this story is how the older sister is just so over it. You can tell she's reached her breaking point after years of dealing with her sister's selfish behavior. I mean, who can blame her for not wanting to make her sister the maid of honor? And that's a pretty special role, and it should go to someone who's earned it through love and support, not just because they happen to share DNA. Overall, this is just a reminder that sometimes even the closest of family members can have some serious issues. But if you're lucky, you'll have a group of close friends who you can rely on instead. And who knows? Maybe one day the sisters will be able to repair their relationship. But for now, I think the older sister deserves a big pat on the back for standing up for herself and not letting her sister's entitlement get the best of her. This is your wedding. You are not the a-hole. Thanks for watching till the end, and don't forget to subscribe and like for more of these ridiculous stories. Love you all, and stay safe out there in that crazy world. Much love. Peace.